to be the best, simple and plain. That's why I play the game. To be the best, you have to win. And that's what drives me.
He's the best player in the game. It's just that simple.
Yo, what it do, good people? We back with another vid. Need y'all to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell and spam that comment section. You coming through the door, kick your shoes off, kick your feet up, time to get comfortable. You with the negative energy, please exit the building. This is disgusting. And it's sick for a person to stick with this shit for 10 years. Excuse my language, but she stuck around for 10 years dealing with this.
The P. Diddy trial is now in day 3, Sean Combs. And it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just like, I want to stress again to the audience, we must distinguish before we get the legal instructions between disgusting, filthy, pervert, cad, asshole, and criminal. That's really what this trial is about. I think even the defense cedes point 1. They have to. There won't be a juror in that room that can stand Sean Combs. But the question here is whether he broke the law, and even your humble correspondent is open-minded to being persuaded that there wasn't a technical legal violation. I really want to see I haven't looked up the proposed legal instructions, but we'll get them, jury instructions on what the law is. Because I'll tell you, like, I've got questions. I'm horrified by the testimony, but I've got questions about whether they're going to get a conviction. Okay, I hope they do, but that's just because I can't stand him. Okay. The star witness is Cassie.
Hold on.
Did
she say she hope they convict him because she can't stand him? Hold on.
I'm horrified by the testimony, but I've got questions about whether they're going to get a conviction. Okay, I hope they do, but that's just because I can't stand him. Okay. Wow. The star witness is Cassie.
Wow.
She was a singer, Cassie Ventura. She signed with him when she was 18 years old or right around there. She became a singer. She signed like a 10-record deal with Bad Boy Records, which is his. And within like 2 years, he started having sex with her. And he was with a different woman at the time, but shockingly, he wasn't faithful, and started sleeping with Cassie. And then she testified how in the beginning, by the way, when she took the stand, she was 8.5 months pregnant yesterday. His side was so worried about that making her look overly sympathetic that they asked if she could be brought in and put on the stand without the jury in the room. Look at this. I mean, like, apparently they're not exaggerating. She had that enormous belly that we all get in the very, very last few days, which is where like, it becomes like voyeuristic to even look at a woman at that point. It's just out of control. God bless you, Cassie.
Congratulations to Cassie. She's pregnant. Okay.
So anyway, the judge overruled that and said she can walk in. Her full pregnant self, and she did. And she testified about how he started very early on telling her he wanted her to participate in these freak-offs. That's what he called them. And these things, I mean, it's the right word for them. I mean, they're absolutely depraved behavior where he would hire these male sex workers, and she's testifying, this is all, her testimony, that they would come over and that Sean Combs would be there watching and directing everything, and that there would be multiple sex sessions within the one freak-off, which could go for days. But even if it went for hours, there'd be multiple sessions in which she would have to perform with these male sex workers, including in like outfits and fishnets and masquerade masks and hooker heels is how it was described. And he would tell them exactly what sex acts he wanted and how, and then he would participate in some of them. We talked yesterday, forgive me, listening audience, about how he allegedly, both himself and through the male sex worker, urinated on her and I guess in her mouth to where she.
So she allowed him to do that to her, and she kept going back, doing the same thing over and over again, even though she didn't like it. So you mean to tell me this is what love is? Wow.
She testified she was gagging. She thought she was going to throw up. She testified that the freak-offs, quote, became a job where there was no space to do anything else but to recover and to just feel normal again. That they could go from 36 hours to as long as 4 days, that they took, quote, a big chunk of my life, sometimes on a nearly weekly basis. At the end of the sessions, the hotel linens were often very soiled with baby oil residue, as well as bodily fluids, including blood and urine. And his staff, keep in mind, he's being accused of like racketeering, like the way mob boss.
Wait, hold on. So this is what I don't get. The people that cleaned up this stuff. So maybe, but that's still something to question though. These hotels that these freak offs was at, I know they probably was done at his mansions and other places, but some of them was done at hotels. The workers didn't think about questioning, like, what's to this? Did nobody speak up and say nothing? Now, we could say he paid them off, because how it take this long for this video footage to come out? Things to make you want to go,
does, where he has an enterprise of criminals around him. That's why these details are important, that his staff would both set up the freak off rooms and clean up the freak off rooms, that eventually they graduated to adding like television lighting, like Klieg lights in there that would have red lighting coming out of them or blue lighting coming out of them to set just the right mood. Choking back tears, she testified, reading here from the New York Times. She testified the freak offs made her feel disgusting and humiliated. If he wasn't in the...
But you went back. How did that make you feel disgusting and humiliated when you kept going back and repeating the same thing over and over again? Because after a while, you know, she got comfortable with it because she knew what he liked.
Room he would sometimes watch over FaceTime. He began recording the freak offs. Side note, the media has now filed a request to see the videotape of the freak offs. And the parties are objecting, saying they don't need to see everything. I mean, like Cassie doesn't want them to see it, and Diddy doesn't want them out. And the judge says he's leaning towards releasing them because there's a little thing called the First Amendment. And the judge, they don't need tape of the freak offs. Freak offs. Side note, the media has now filed a request to see the videotape of the freak offs. And the parties are objecting, saying they don't need to see everything. I mean, like Cassie doesn't want them to see it, and Diddy doesn't want them out. And the judge says he's leaning towards releasing them because there's a little thing called the First Amendment. But of course, the media is like, we want to see the freak offs.
But you know, they eventually gonna come out. Like she said, it's the First Amendment. But they gonna come out, and just imagine people who got tapes that's put up too. You know, they got tapes that they, all right, let me make a copy of this and give it to so and so. I'm gonna make a copy of this and give, man, you know how many people got tapes of these freak offs, these different freak offs? That's why I say this trial is about to open up doors to Pandora's box. Literally.
Show us the tape. That's what the media's position is. She lists the drugs that he provided to the participants: ecstasy, cocaine, marijuana, ketamine, mushrooms, whatever was the drug of choice at that point. She says she took the drugs for disassociating and to have some kind of buffer from what she was experiencing. She talked about how he beat her repeatedly. She talked about that one incident we saw at the Hotel Intercontinental where he dragged her and beat her on the ground. She was trying to escape a freak off, like it was just a day ending in Y. She was like, I mean, that's kind of, yeah, that we did that all the time. And he would beat me sometimes. And
damn, so he would always put his foot up her ass. Ain't no telling how many times he done hit her in the face and she had to cover it up with makeup. But how you gonna let this man keep putting his foot up your ass? How? And she's saying this shit like it was cool to her because she did it for 10 years. It must have been cool for her. So your job was to get kicked in the ass, punched on, beat on, and pissed on. That was your job. But she said after a while it felt like a job. That's crazy. Don't condone none of this, YouTube. This is for commentary purposes only. I don't condone none of this.
That time I made a run for it, and I stayed on the ground once he knocked me down because it was self-defense. I thought maybe he wouldn't be able to hit me as easily if I stayed down. I mean, he's just an absolute disgusting, hideous pig, awful man. She said she stayed to keep him happy.
What about yourself? Doing the stuff he made you do, how could you be happy doing that stuff? Catching the ass beating all the time. He putting his foot up your ass all the time. How can you be happy, but you saying you want to make him happy? If you're not happy, how can you make him happy? Don't make sense. That's sad. And just mind you, there's a lot of women out here that's taking beatings like this. Now, I don't know about none of the other stuff, the crazy little sex acts and all that, but I know it's a lot of women in relationships, even women that's married, that's going through this same situation where they get beat on, but they don't want to leave. They keep running back. First time, you the victim. The second time you run back, and the third and fourth time, nah, you want to keep getting your ass beat. You want to.
When you're in love with someone, you don't want to disappoint them. But as the years passed, even as she still sought to please him, she recognized he had become increasingly abusive, beating her and orchestrating ever more degrading sessions that made her feel like her career was no longer music, but performing in for his sexual satisfaction. Here's the thing. She testified, she was asked, the cross has begun, about why, like whether she told him that she didn't want to do it. And the testimony, as I understand it thus far, has been basically, no. She said she would do it. And they have text messages of her saying to him, like, I can't wait for the next freak off.
Wow.
I can't wait to do it. Like, I might not be able to do it today because I have a red carpet. And she testified about how she had to get all drugged up. And also he would do it today. No.
So wait a minute. If she got text messages bragging about, shit, what time should I be there, babe? I can't wait. I'm on the flight. I'm on my way. If she's texting shit like that, she was comfortable doing this. So that's something that the defense got to argue about this, because it seems like she was comfortable doing this. All of a sudden now she want to complain and come out and she want to cry. And no, it seemed like you was comfortable. For these 10 years that you was with this man, you was comfortable.
No. She said she would do it. And they have text messages of her saying to him, like, I can't wait for the next freak off. I can't wait to do it. Like, I might not be able to do it today because I have a red carpet. And she testified about how she had to get all drugged up and also he would beat her. And it's like, she did have to go to the red carpet with a black eye. I think it was after that Intercontinental one we saw. But the defense has text messages from her being like, can't wait. I love it. You're like, when's the next one? And so this has the real danger for the prosecution of morphing into a Harvey Weinstein-esque case where it's only a crime if he forced you. If you guys are just freaks in bed who wanted to do this stuff, yes, there's a question of the prostitution element. But he's not being charged with abuse, with assault. And a lot of the viewers wrote in after our discussion yesterday saying, what do you mean? He beat her. It's on tape. Yes, I know. He's not being charged with that. That's not one of the charges. The charges relate to solicitation of prostitution or like arranging the transportation of a prostitute, and RICO, racketeering, a criminal enterprise. So it's relevant if there's a crime of prostitution and relevant if there was a crime on which the statute of limitations has run called assault. But they don't have to actually prove any of that. And he's not exactly being charged for that. But if this is consensual sex, or at least if Sean Combs believed that it was consensual sex, he could skate legally. And that's my impression so far. I very open-minded to this going another way. Your thoughts on the cultural impact of this trial, and just thoughts on what we're learning now about one of the most famous people in America.
I mean, he should skate if that's the case, right? I mean, it's not criminal, and it's not part of a criminal enterprise if you're a scumbag. And sometimes it's very hard to separate those things in situations like this. I mean, I saw the tape from the hotel. Nothing about that surprises me, considering what we know about his character. And as you said, Megan, it's like we can disassociate these things and say, you are a horrible, horrible monster. And that is clear. And his life is over. I mean, whether he goes to prison or not, there's no way he's going to be allowed back into the club of celebrity. It just can't. I mean, recalling that he had these white parties in the Hamptons, and, Martha Stewart is going to these things. This is not something that's just in the hip hop world. And that is gone for him forever. But whether or not he's been in jail, I don't know, for a year or something in Brooklyn, whether or not that is justified, I haven't paid really close attention to this because I have a life and I try to limit my my Diddy, Puffy, whatever the hell he's called, consumption. But there is a thing that at the sort of heel end of that kind of Me Too movement, where it was getting a little troubling. And I'm not saying that this is comparable, but there would be times when people
feeling Salem-y.
But yeah, when it was feeling Salem in the sense that, that was a bad relationship, or that person was a jerk, and it's like,
yeah, but we'll cut that right there. I want to go watch the rest of that. Go over that to Megyn Kelly, but yeah, like I said, my thoughts on this is she wanted to be there. She stayed because she was actually enjoying herself. 10 years, you can't say you've been with a person for 10 years. They put you through this, you didn't want to stay. The first time they started showing these signs and symptoms, you were supposed to get up out of there. But obviously, like she said, this is their type of love. I guess she was in love around this time, but that I just don't get it. I don't get it. Women that say they in love and they can't leave a guy that's putting his foot up their rear end, I don't get it. I really don't understand. But I need y'all to like, share, and subscribe, and let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Do you think Diddy will be getting convicted of this? Do y'all think he will be getting convicted of this? Let me know in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We the People TV. Go.